Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to understand the concept of uh, another AWS service, which is Elastic Beanstalk. We'll do the hands-on as well as the various things related to Elastic Beanstalk. First of all, let's understand why do we need Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, what is the purpose of Elastic Beanstalk and what it is? See, basically when I'm trying to deploy, say, a Java application, right? So I would need to uh, do a lot of things. First is obviously I need to install Java. I need to uh, deploy the EC2 instance. Then third thing is, say, if I want to do load balancing, auto scaling, all those stuff, right? The whole infrastructure has to be taken care by me. Apart from writing the application code and deploying it, correct? So that is the whole headache that you have to take part. Basically, you have to take care. So how do we actually get into this? So the AWS provides this Elastic Beanstalk, which is nothing but a platform as a service. So you just worry about your application code, forget about everything else. You just focus on your application code. Then Elastic Beanstalk will actually help you deploying your code basically, and it will do all the stuff basically. You just need to provide the configuration. It will take care of everything. Okay, so that's the basically the use of Elastic Beanstalk. And when we go through the hands-on, you will understand how Elastic Beanstalk is going to make your life easier. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, I will explain the some important concepts. Okay, one is application environments and application versions. Okay, so we'll understand that by creating or doing the hands-on side by side. So first of all, let me just start my command prompt. Okay, so the first thing that I will do is I'll create the Beanstalk application. Okay, so I'm using this CLI. I can do it from here as well, from AWS console. So from AWS console, you just need to provide the application name, and then you can create the application. So first part is creating your application. So your application could be like anything. Okay, it could be like bank service or etc. that you might be creating. So just consider that as your application, and then that application or will have versions, right? So like in Git, we have multiple versions of the code. Like you might create version 2, version 3, version 4, version 5, and then we deploy that particular version to the environment. So the same concept is applied in Beanstalk. Okay, so let's understand this. So first I'll create the application. Now this is my application name, my Spring Boot application. So let me create this. So my application is created. Okay, if you look here, so this is the application which is created, and the command is AWS Elastic Beanstalk create application. That's it. And then if I come here, as you can see, my Spring Boot application is created. My Spring Boot application. Now you see here, the environments column is basically empty here. And if I go inside here, again, what it gives me the option of creating the environment. The relationship between application and the environment, it would be something like this. So let's understand this. So my application is my SB app. Okay, say I have 3 versions. Here I will have application version, and in application version I will have, say, version 1.0, version 2.0, and third is version 3.0. Fine, and then my application can be deployed in various environments. Say I have 3 environment: dev, UAT, and prod. Like I might do, just for the example sake, say my dev is 2.0, my UAT is also 2.0, and my prod is currently 1.0. Just take this example for now. See, as you can see, same version can be deployed in multiple environments, but one environment can only have one version. Just keep that thing in mind. So if you want a different version, say I want to change the version of dev from 2.0 to 3.0, that is something that you can do. Okay, you can we'll do that hands on, but just for the understanding purpose, just keep this thing in mind. Okay, so this is how your Beanstalk application will look like. So this is your main application, and it can have versions, and application can be deployed in various environments. You can have any kind of environment. Here I have just mentioned dev, UAT, and prod, which is like the common thing that we see, and each environment can have one version deployed. Okay, so this is the concept of application. So first you create the application. That's your first step. Okay, and application can have versions. So let's create the versions. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create versions of this application. Okay, so let's do that. You can even create it from here. If I click on Spring Boot, my Spring Boot, and if I go here and if I do the upload, right? So in upload, I can give the version label number. So I can give like version 1.0, and then I can choose the file. So I can directly upload it. But what I'm going to do is I have actually kept my three versions, AWS 1.jar, AWS 2.jar, and AWS 3.jar in S3 bucket, my Java bucket 19 July. So I will just use that. So I'm again going with the AWS CLI. So as you can see, AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Now this is create application version. Okay, we created the application version. An application version of which application, which is my SB app. Then you give the version label number, and you also provide the source bundle. Where is the source bundle? Okay. So I provide this S3 bucket information. This is my bucket. Here you can see this is my Java 19 July. This is my bucket. And what is the key? So for version 1, I'm using AWS 1.jar. So I'm just going to create this version. As you can see, my version is created. Now let's check that in the Elastic Beanstalk. Right, click here. Yeah, as you can see, my version is created, and it gives me the source as well, the source information. Now let me create another two versions of the same application. Let's check how many versions have been created. Okay, I have created version 1 and version 2 now. Now let's create version 3. Now version 3 is created. In this case, right? So now I have my application has three versions, which you can see here in the application version. If you go to application, if you click on the my SB app, here you can see version 1, version 2, version 3. Now, once I have all the versions, etc., now I need to create the environment. The environment is basically your running instance. You can take this as your running instance. So I need to create my running instance. So like a dev environment is your dev running instance. EVT environment is a dev EVT running instance. Application version is just like a source code which is lying there, which can be deployed. Okay. So this is how you can understand the concept of application environment and application version. And suppose I want to change this, then I can change the version also. The environment can be upgraded with the new version of the application. That is also possible. That we will see. Now once this is done, and if I click here, now it is asking if you can create if you want to create a new environment. So let's create that. Here it will ask all the details, right? What would be the application name? So application name is my SB app, which we have created. So you could say application is basically the highest logical container. Okay. If you delete this, everything will be deleted by itself. And basically this is the highest logical container. Everything resides under this. And the application will have environments and the application version. And environments can have one of the application version. So let's create the environment now. And if I go to this, it is giving me environment here. Now what is this environment here? We will understand this. The Elastic Beanstalk provides two options that you can create two environments. Worker environment and one is the web server environment. So what is the difference between these two? Okay, so let's understand. So web server environment is basically your web applications. This is basically for the web application kind of applications that you want to deploy. So what the web applications will have, it will have some load balancer on top of your instances. So this is your EC2 instances which are actually handled via the auto scaling group. And then you have the web server tier, which could be like Nginx or Apache Tomcat. And then you have your application, which is your Spring Boot application, which is your backend application. And then it can access all the other various services of AWS. So if you can clearly see, right, this is your basically the web server environment, and then it is basically using the Nginx as your reverse proxy. And what is the worker environment? So worker environment is here for background jobs. Okay, this is very tightly coupled to Amazon SQS or the SQS queue. See what happens basically, someone publishes data in your SQS queue, and then you will have these consumer services which are deployed on your EC2 instances. Again, it will be it can be under the auto scaling group. So what will happen basically, based on the number of counts of your SQS, basically the number of records that are produced in your SQS queue, the auto scaling can be actually executed. It could scale in or it can scale out based on the number of requests that is coming to your SQS. So that is done to your. So this is your EC2 is basically consuming the records from SQS. So it is polling this SQS and then executing it. And again, it can be your Spring Boot application. This is completely a sync process that we are talking about here. and then it is like you put it into some SQ, and then uh, the consumer will actually pull the record, get the record, and process it, and basically process it and store it if you wanted some. So this is what happens in the worker environment. This is purely for your background job. Okay. So that's the difference between your web server environment and your worker environment. Here it is what do you want. So currently what we want is web server environment. We will just do the demo of web server environment, and the application name is my SB app. Environment name I will give it as dev1, and here I will give the domain name as, say, let's give it as dev1.us east1. Since it is my Spring Boot application, so my platform would be Java, and it is 21. See here, you provide this information. Now what Elastic Beanstalk will do is basically it will install Java and uh, in, whatever is required basically to run your application. You don't need to worry about that. So that's the advantage that you get. Otherwise, if you do it manually yourself, then basically you'll have to procure an EC2 instance. You will have to do SSH and install Java, etc., and all those stuff that you will have to do. You can create an AMI image, that is also fine. But point is, still you have to create that user data or some scripts basically, which will install Java, and then your machine is ready. But everything is handled by Elastic Beanstalk, right? You don't have to worry about how the Java will be installed. You just need to provide the configuration. That's it. And as far as now, here comes your application code. So here you provide the information. See, we have already created the application version that we saw, right? So we created the application version. Now I choose one of them. Say I'm keeping version 2 in dev for now. Just take this example. Now after this, so I'm saying in my dev1 deploy version 2 of my code. And what is my version 2 of the code? So as you can see, this is my version 2 of the code, which is your AWS 2.jar, which is basically getting the jar file from S3 bucket. Now you have multiple options. So how do you want your environment to be like? Okay. So do you want a single instance? Do you want single instance using Spot instance? So this is basically, this will use only one instance. And here you can see that you use Spot instance because Spot instance will save money. So that's the point. In case you're okay with the interruptions. So Spot instance is basically some free resources which are available, okay, or free instances which are available that can be used, right? So AWS provides at a very discounted price. But problem is, as soon as AWS finds someone to actually at the higher price, it will actually terminate your Spot instance. So that's the problem with your Spot instance. So it will give 1 or 2 minutes before that. But that's the problem with the Spot instance. There will be interruptions. So, but it will save a lot of cost, up to 90%. Then if you want high availability, when we say high availability, it clearly means you would have a load balancer, you would have an auto scaling group, etc., and all those stuff. And if you want high availability using Spot on and on-demand instances, so basically we'll just divide here. It will be completely on-demand instances, very secure in a way. And here you will just use combination of both Spot and on-demand instances. And custom configuration is basically your own configuration. How do you want to deploy? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use single instance for now. Now this is your first information that you filled. Now we'll move to the second information that is required. Now these are the service accesses. Okay. Now what AWS is saying, it needs a service role. Okay. So Elastic Beanstalk, now it's a platform as a service, right? It will have to create your environment, your EC2 instance, and all those kind of stuff. So it needs that service role. So this is the service role. You can create the role from here. I'll just show you what the role is all about. This is the service role, and in the service role, these are the two policies which are attached. Okay, so one is your enhanced health, basically for your cloud logs and all those kind of stuff. Okay, for creating the log stream, putting the log events for your logging and monitoring purpose. Basically, this role is required. And then as far as your update customer or manage update customer policies, basically you have to create instance, load balancer, cloud formation, auto scaling, everything whatever AWS does, right? Sorry, Elastic Beanstalk does. So that same thing is required here. So this is a service role. You could think like it is like a manager who is going to, or you could say like a DevOps person who is going to execute this or create the infrastructure. You could just think like a DevOps person. So DevOps person need all the service role to create your infrastructure and then also to deploy your. Now comes next part is EC2 instance profile. So EC2 instance profile is nothing but see, our EC2 instance is going to have the application code our application code is going to run on EC2 instance. Now, EC2 instance will need the permissions to access various services of AWS. So, suppose my application is reading from S3. Okay, it's basically reading some file from S3, and then it is again storing back in database based on some information. So, all kind of services that you might be using. So, those permission will come into your EC2 instance profile. So, this is the basically the roles and accesses that you want the EC2 instance should have. So that comes into your EC2 instance profile. Just keep one thing in mind. There is only one instance profile per EC2. Okay. In Elastic Beanstalk case, since our application is one, right? So we'll have one role. So this is again, you can create this role. And then this is key pair. Okay. So key pair is basically if you want to access it and access it into your application. So after the service access, you come to your networking and database part. So here you can select your VPC. Okay, so assign a public address to your Amazon instance. I am keeping that. So my subnet default is it is allowed. Now I can choose the availability zone as well. Since it is a single instance, then I'll just deploy it in. It is a single instance, then I'll just deploy it in where is 1A. Now comes the RDS database. Now this is interesting. So if you want to create the database also, say suppose your infrastructure also needs the RDS database. So you can create your database also from this part. Okay, so it is just like creating a new RDS database. But the recommendation would be to actually avoid creating the database from here. Rather, you create a database outside, put the URLs etc. in your application code, and then access it. Okay, and just add the permissions etc. in your EC2 instance profile. So that's how you should do it. So this was about the database. Now let's move to the other part. Now we just need to provide the root volume. What would be your root volume? So we just take general purpose 3, which is quite common. Our CloudWatch monitoring, let's keep it as at a very common basic monitoring interval of 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes it will monitor, it will send the metrics from the EC2 instances to the CloudWatch. Then if you want the instance metadata service, so in case you remove this, then version 1 and version 2 both are enabled. So we'll just go with version 2 for now. And then the security group. Okay, so here you can select the security group. It will create one more security group for you. But still the security group that you want, because once it creates, right, I will show you the security group created by Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, then you'll understand that. Now comes the auto scaling part. So because it is single instance, right, so we don't need any kind of auto scaling here. But say suppose it was load balanced, then you provide the minimum number of instances, maximum number of instances. Then you can do all these kind of things. The combined purchase and instances here. You can allocate the spot allocation if you want to use spot instances, etc. Or you just want to use on-demand instances. If it is on-demand instances, then it's fine. But if it is like on-demand as well as your spot instances, then you need to add these things here. So this is so for now we'll just keep on-demand instances. We'll keep the architecture as x86 64. Here instance types, you can provide multiple instance types. So I'll say okay, first try to see if T3 micro is available. In case it is not available, then go for T3.small. So you can provide in this way multiple instance types. In our case, it is single instance. So it will choose either of these. So first it will check for T3 micro if it is available. Then it will not go for T3 small. Say in case it is not available, then it will go for T3.c. And then you can add your own AMI which you have created or something. That is up to you. Then there is placement strategy, scaling cooldown. So like after one scaling operations, how much time should you wait basically? And then your scaling triggers. Okay, so scaling triggers, do you want CPU utilization? Okay, then what should be the percentage? How frequently you will do the evaluation? So these are all part of your auto scaling information. Okay, so which you just need to provide this information. The whole auto scaling configuration etc. will be created by Elastic Beanstalk. You don't have to worry about it, how it will create. For now, I am not going to create anything, but still AWS will create one auto scaling group basically. We'll see that. Now once you provide all this information about the auto scaling and everything, now here you can go with monitoring. I will just keep it for basic. This is the information about the managed platform updates. So see, Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service. It is basically handling all your infrastructure. Say suppose there are any security patches or all this information, right? So how do you want to do the upgrade basically that of your infrastructure? So like minor patches and etc. You need to provide your weekly update time. So at that time, it might actually just bring down the instances, do the update in place. So, so all like it's like a weekly maintenance that you need to provide. For now, I'm going to disable it, and you can set the email notifications as well. Now comes the important part of rolling updates and deployment. So now, since it is single instance, right? So we see only all at once. Okay, but for the other types, like when we have high availability environments where we will have so many multiple instances, etc., we will see the other options as well. So for now, just understand what is all at once. All at once is basically say my one instance is running and I am upgrading my dev version, okay, my dev environment version from 2.0 to 3.0. So this is an upgrade that is happening. So this is the deployment policy, how it is going to deploy the instance. So all at once means it is going to actually terminate the instance and create the new instance. The only problem with this is basically say suppose your uh, current deployment fails for some reason, then or there are some issues with your or bugs in your case, then you actually have a longer downtime. You will have to restore back to your previous, and that will take some bit of time. So that is your all at once. We'll look at the other options as well. Okay. Then we have this rolling update type, deployment preferences, etc., health checks, etc. What do you want? Okay. I'm not going deep into this. Then again, you can enable X-ray, S3 log storage. You can create instance log streaming. So every instance will have its own log streams. Okay. Now this is the environment properties that you want. Okay. So in my application, so what are the environment properties that I would need? I'll just check that. And based on that, I will add the environment properties. So server port, okay, it is 8080 and version is something that I can provide here. So this is your dev environment. I will say at version 2.0. I will also add one more thing here, which is your port. I'll tell you why it is needed. Now once this is done, so you can just create next. Now once this is done, and if you deploy this, your dev1 environment will be created. So dev1, it is saying that this DNS instance is not available, the domain name. Let's check this out. So here it is saying dev1 is not available. You can check the availability here itself. Okay, this is available. So we are good. I'll directly go to review now and I'll create this. Now this is going to create my dev1 environment. Okay, now this is going to create my dev1 environment and my version is 2. Similarly, what I will do is I will also create UAT and prod. Okay, so let's do that. I go here. This is UAT1, SB app UAT1. I'll choose Java 21. Existing version. Again, I'm going to use version 2 only. Then single instance. Roles. This is like a DevOps role for Elastic Beanstalk. And this is the instance level roles or access is required to run your application. This is your VPC. Not enabling any database here. Here everything is web server. Single instance AM ID. AMI. I'll keep the monitoring as basic. I'll remove this. Deployment policy is all at once. I'm not changing anything else. I just need to add property here. I'll make it version 2.0. Again, I will add here port 8080. I go to my environment. Already dev1 is in green. UAT1 is created. So now let's also look at the EC2 instance, okay, which has been created. Let's see that for my dev one. See there, dev one, this is running fine. Okay. And if I open this environment, see I'm getting this domain as well. And if I click here, I need to provide API/help. See, this is working. This is, if you look at the code here, it is string version 2.0. Let me also open AWS 2. I'm just going to call V2 here. So latest API V2 version. So this is running fine. As you can see, from this domain, it is able to call this. So internally, what Elastic Beanstalk does is basically it will create one Nginx server, and this Nginx server is listening on port 80. And from your Nginx, there will be a proxy pass that it will do, and it will be diverted to your Spring Boot application, which is listening on port 8080. Okay, like we had seen in our application.yaml. So it is redirecting to port 8080 to the Spring Boot application. So that, okay, even UAT is also ready. And if I click here, and I will just run API/v2, it runs fine, perfect. If you just look at one more thing, which is here, let's go to EC2 again. I wanted to show the security group. Here, UAT1 and dev1, so it created the security group. And if you look at the security group, so it has added this SSH, okay, from any source and destination, from any source, and then this your HTTP 80 from any source. So this is how your security group, and then even this is also attached. And if I go to my EC2 instance, so I'll just click on one of them. And if you look at the security groups, right, the one created by the Elastic Beanstalk is added here. Okay, port 80 and 22. So port 80 is basically this Nginx server from where this domain is being called, and then that is for your reverse proxy. And the other ones is something that I had added, which is not required, but still I had added. So you can add the separate security groups as well that we had seen during the creation of environment. And what you can see basically in the Elastic Beanstalk is all the updates, right? All the events that have taken place. So first it starts from here, right? Creating environment, then using the Elastic Beanstalk Amazon S3 bucket, created the security group. It even created Elastic IP. It waited for the instance to launch, deployed successfully, deployment successful, and it is available. So everything that Elastic Beanstalk does can be seen here in this deployment tab. Okay. So if I go to my application, and if I go to my application version, now this is version 3, right? So what I can do is I can go here, I can do a deploy. So I want to deploy this version 3. Say I want to upgrade the version from version 2 to version 3. So I can just directly come here and do this. So it will start doing the deployment. So as you can see in the application, if I go to the environment, see the dev1 is now in progress. The upgrade is taking place. And once this is done, then you will see the running version or the application code will change. Okay. Let it complete, and then I will just show you. So in version 3, what I have done is basically I have this extra simple API. It's just nothing. It's just written this particular API. This is not available in version 2. Okay, if you want to check this out, if I try to run this version 3, it gives me right page error. It is not available, but version 2 is available. Now in from dev, this version 2 is available. Let's check what is the status of the deployment. Okay, dev is up now. So version 2 is available. V2, V1, V3 is available. So we have successfully deployed this particular AWS 3 version on dev. So how easy it was actually to just upgrade. I just went to application version, selected the application version, just did the deploy, and it took care. And the deployment policy, right? The deployment policy actually took care of the how the instances will be upgraded to what we had seen in the other cases. Now we'll get dev one is now going to, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this environment. Okay, this is one more thing that you can do. So basically now my UAT is going to point to dev one. I'm swapping this. I'm just swapping the domain URL. So this is like just the CNAME entry. See, this is the CNAME entry. It is just changing for UAT1 and dev1 environment. Now UAT is pointing to dev1 and dev1 is pointing to UAT. So we have just swapped the environments. That's it. Basically the pointer, the route 53 pointer. It is like a route 53 pointer. Uh, Now UAT1 is pointing to the dev1 and dev1 is pointing to UAT1. Let's check this out with this. See this in UAT1, I can clearly see the domain URL is sb app dev1.us east1. As you can see, because dev1 is now pointing to what? UAT1, right? So now version 2 is working because UAT was on which version? Version 2. Now let's go to the dev environment. Now dev environment is pointing to your UAT. If I do this and if I use v3, see, now this UAT is pointing to the version 3 of the application code. So we have just swapped the domain URL. Okay, so this is how we can swap the domain URL. You can even go here and clone the environment. So this is like if you want to create a test environment sort of thing, then you can just clone the environment. Everything remains the same. You just get the direct clone environment or the clone infrastructure, etc. of your environment. So that's the advantage that you get. And terminated my environment, okay, and then I want to restore it. I can do that easily. But you can only restore if the versions, etc. are not deleted. Otherwise, you cannot restore it. Okay, first, I will just show you all the versions that we have. And if I go to applications here, and if I do delete application, everything will be deleted of this application. It cannot terminate because there is one environment which is still under creation. Otherwise, you can just directly go here, and if you go here and delete the application, okay, so everything will be deleted right from your environments, etc., and all your application version, etc., will be deleted. So everything is under this logical container, which is your application, and everything will be deleted from you. Individually, you can terminate the environments. Here we have this option of terminating the environments, or you can rebuild the environments, restart the app servers, etc. And as far as versions are concerned, you can delete all these versions that you want and just keep few versions. You can also keep the lifecycle settings of the application versions. So this lifecycle policy is like, how much long do you want to keep the application version? So like 180 days is like 6 months. So keep the versions till the 6 months, or you can set it by count. So just keep last 10, 20, 50, 200 versions, whatever. So the higher limit is 1000. Okay, after 1000, you cannot create more application version. That is the problem. And do you want to retain or keep the force bundle from S3 or not? Okay, so all these things are part of the version lifecycle. So you can do that part as part of your version lifecycle. So this is your version lifecycle in Elastic Beanstalk. So thank you so much. Have a good day.